Formula One is a sport built on precision, power, and money. A lot of money. For decades, the world's fastest teams have been backed by massive manufacturers and sponsors with seemingly bottomless budgets. Underdogs, they're a romantic idea, but in reality, they rarely survive, and they almost never win. But in 2009, something happened that defied every rule. A team on the brink of extinction, a deal made for just £1, a technical masterstroke that turned a backmarker into a world champion overnight. This is the story of Brawn GP, the team that shocked the world. The roots of the Brawn GP miracle lie in the collapse of Honda's Formula One program. In the mid-2000s, Honda returned to F1 as a full works team. The ambition was clear. They wanted to be champions. They had the budget, the facilities, the engineers, everything except the results. After buying out British American Racing in 2005, Honda made their full comeback in 2006. They won one race, Jenson Button's famous wet weather victory in Hungary. But the years that followed were brutal. In 2007, they finished 8th in the Constructors. In 2008, 9th place, only beating Force India and the struggling Super Aguri. And then the world changed. The global financial crisis hit. Honda, facing massive losses in its core business, decided Formula One was a luxury it could no longer afford. In December 2008, the team's future ended with a short press release. Honda was leaving F1 immediately. At the heart of the team was Ross Brawn, a man with one of the most formidable reputations in motorsport. At Ferrari, he had been the tactical genius behind Michael Schumacher's 5 consecutive championships from 2000 to 2004. Before that, he'd guided Benetton to titles in 1994 and 1995. He was a strategist, an engineer, and above all, a problem solver. But in December 2008, Brawn was facing the kind of problem no amount of strategy could solve. Without a buyer, the Honda team's hundreds of employees would lose their jobs. Years of work would vanish overnight, and the car they had been developing for the new 2009 regulations, a car Brawn believed could be competitive, would never turn a wheel. So he made an audacious move. He offered to buy the entire team for £1. On paper, it looked absurd, but the deal came with Honda's assets, the factory in Brackley, the personnel, the 2009 car, everything. The catch? He also inherited the enormous costs of running an F1 team without Honda's budget. He'd need new sponsors, new engines, and an unshakable belief that this gamble could work. There was another complication. Honda's withdrawal meant their V8 engine program was gone. The new Brawn GP team had just weeks to find a replacement power unit. They turned to Mercedes, whose FO108W V8 was one of the most powerful and reliable on the grid. But there was a problem. The BGP001 had been designed around Honda's much larger and heavier engine. Fitting the more compact Mercedes required a complete redesign of the rear end of the car in just a few frantic weeks before preseason testing. Failure to get it right would mean missing the first races entirely. Under the 2009 rules, aerodynamic downforce was slashed to make overtaking easier. Rear wings were narrower, front wings wider, and for the first time since 1997, slick tires returned. But Ross Brawn's technical team, led by Jörg Zander and Loic Bigois, found a loophole in the wording of the regulations. They designed a double diffuser, a clever arrangement of bodywork and openings that dramatically increased the airflow under the car, generating more downforce without adding drag. It wasn't illegal per se, but it certainly wasn't in the spirit of the rules. Only 2 other teams, Toyota and Williams, had spotted the same opportunity, but Brawn's version was the most effective. When rival teams saw the pace of the BGP001, protests were filed immediately. The FIA investigated and ruled it legal. Brawn GP had just been handed a huge early season advantage. When the car finally hit the track for preseason testing in March, the paddock expected them to struggle. Instead, they destroyed the timing sheets. Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello were setting laps over a second faster than anyone else. Rivals accused them of sandbagging fuel loads or using special engines. But the truth was simple. The BGP-001 was a rocket ship. Still, no one truly believed they could win the first race. This was, after all, a brand new team with no title sponsor, running out of an ex-Honda facility and operating on a shoestring compared to the likes of Ferrari and McLaren. March 29th, Melbourne, the first race in Brawn GP history, and the fairy tale started immediately. Button took pole, Barrichello qualified second. On Sunday, they crossed the line first and second. It was the first time a debuting team had done so since Mercedes in 1954. The paddock and the world was in shock. Button would go on to win 6 of the first 7 races, building a massive championship lead. The car's dominance in those early months was so great that even when rivals caught up, they were still fighting for scraps. By mid-season, the magic wasn't as effortless. As the European rounds began, Red Bull's RB5, driven by Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber, became the main challenger. McLaren and Ferrari also found speed, but Red Bull was the real threat. Their car had better development potential, and with Brawn's limited budget, the upgrades came slower. In races like Turkey and Germany, Red Bull started taking wins. Button's early season comfort zone began to shrink. The pressure was building. Button's form dipped under the weight of the title fight. In the final 7 races, he didn't win a single one. Every weekend became a balancing act, scoring just enough points to keep Vettel and Barrichello at bay. Mistakes were punished brutally. Every mechanical gremlin felt like a threat to the dream. It all came down to Interlagos. Button needed points to clinch the championship, but qualifying was a disaster. 14th on the grid. On race day, though, he delivered the drive of his life, charging through the field with aggressive, fearless overtakes. He finished 5th, and it was enough. Jenson Button was the 2009 Formula One World Champion, and Brawn GP, in their first and only season, had also sealed the Constructors' title. At the end of the year, the fairy tale ended almost as quickly as it began. Mercedes purchased the team, rebranding it as Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1. Ross Brawn stayed on for a few years, overseeing the early development that would lead to Mercedes' unprecedented dominance from 2014 onwards. In one season, Brawn GP had gone from the brink of collapse to the top of the world. Their record, 9 wins from 17 races, both championships secured, and a place in motorsport history that will never be repeated. For fans, Brawn GP's story is more than just stats. It's proof that in Formula One, the most money-driven sport in the world, innovation, courage, and perfect timing can still topple giants. That a team written off by everyone can still rise to the top. And that sometimes, the greatest victories come from the most impossible odds. A £1 purchase, a controversial diffuser, a car built for a season it almost never raced, and the fairy tale that became priceless. This was Brawn GP,